Stand up. There you go. You were dreaming. Was it another one of those nightmares?
I think this clip alone will be enough for some of you to check this game out, but let's do the video anyway. DreamSpring is a first-person RPG that wears its love for Lunacid, The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, and Dark Souls on its sleeve. It's a game where it's more about exploring than build optimizing. It's... Charl! Oh wow, where have you been for like the last 3 years? You forgot about my plot thread because you couldn't be bothered to animate it. Oh, right. So, why are you here now? Because you need to appease the algorithm, Charl. You're getting too niche and too weird, and it's affecting your search rankings. Make a video about a trendy game that baits engagement, or we won't be able to pay our rent. It costs us money to live in this untextured void? Yes, Charl. Why do you think we stopped getting hot water? Oh. Well, I guess I'll get right on that. Okay, he's gone. Let's get even weirder. Now, where were we? DreamSpring is a first-person RPG that wears its love for Lunacid, The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, and Dark Souls on its sleeve. You play as an unnamed dreamer who chooses a background and then wakes up in a boat to set out on adventure to stop the world of dreams from polluting the waking world by one means or another. There will be mushroom forests. There will be exploring caves and far-flung mountains. There will be this nice demon lady who gives you cool spells. I sure hope we aren't being manipulated or led astray by anyone. DreamSpring very much follows the sword and sorcery formula, save for one key addition. Gun! Okay, the gun is essentially just your ranged weapon in place of a bow or something of the sort, but what's nice is that it's got a decent range, no wind-up save for reloading every few shots, and essentially allows for both a mundane melee and ranged attack between that and your sword. You're allowed to equip 2 weapons and 2 spells at any given time, which don't even have to be one melee and one ranged. I ended up using the spell that makes you run really fast a lot with the spell that lets you summon a box to stack on things for maximum speed and exploration. There are plenty of weapons to be found if you're looking, and even some people that are selling them if you know where to look in a few towns where there are, people in the towns. As for the combat itself, it's fairly straightforward. Tap your controller or click for a quick attack, hold and release for a charge attack, which is essentially 2 attacks in quick succession. Handy if you know how to keep your distance and time it right. Guns and all projectiles will fire as fast as you can click them, so long as you have munitions or mana, and all projectiles have travel time, so remember to aim where your target is going to be, not where they are. Some of the baddies here are quick little twerps. Your combat is limited by how many potion usage you have, which are restored every time you rest at a campfire. However, you can't just rest spam because every time you enter an instance or rest, all enemy spawns are reset. Speaking of campfires, that's how you fast travel on top of mixing your potions and leveling up. There's a lot of exploring to be done in this game and a lot of distance between locales. At the time of playing this, there are no quest markers or even so much as a map. Everything you do will be based on visual landmarks and directions you get from NPCs. Quests are more of the same in that you're given some basic instructions and the rest is up to you. So long as you follow that main quest, you'll get that run speed spell fairly early on, and thankfully nothing is gated behind having certain stats to use an item. You would do well to try and memorize those landmarks though, as if you're just following the compass, which I believe can be turned off if you want, you're gonna get lost a lot. Because I sure did. Where we're really looking to go, and also where we're going to find the namesake DreamSprings, is the Dream World. Dream worlds operate differently from the waking world in how there usually aren't as many instances, if there are any at all, and more often can be considered very large dungeons instead of an overworld. You can explore a lot, but you can also fall off the edge of the world if you aren't careful. You can find a lot of stuff in the Dream World, like more forgotten lore, which is this game's stand-in for souls. And even special weapons and equipment that are extremely powerful but can only be used inside of dream worlds, which, frankly, you're gonna need them for some of the enemies you fight here, because enemies at the very least feel tougher on a standard level, and the bosses I fought inside of these dream worlds have taken me a lot more tries than the ones in the waking world. Once you get to the Dream Springs, you get to make the choice of what you want to do with them. The nice lady at the beginning of the video wants us to use her funny hand spell on them, claiming that this will fix the Dream Springs and therefore fix the stuff that it's doing to our world. But other people, like Cecilia and the Inquisition, say we shouldn't do that, and if anything we should just leave them alone because, well, I don't really know why, other than like the Inquisitor said so. Cecilia seems to have some sort of actual plan though, at the very least, which involves figuring out why the Otherworlder wants to use the hand spell. That's all we'll say on the story for now, though, because while the game is story complete, I believe, the game itself isn't 100% done, and like I said in the last video about chambers, when you finish something, you have the urge to put it on the shelf regardless of if it's actually done or not, and I will be coming back to this game later when it's like 1.0. Let's talk about the look and the feel of the world, too. Even in the waking world, DreamSpring has a very surreal feeling to it. Everything has that not quite cel-shaded aesthetic, and it's got the VHS and CRT filters to match. Ironically, despite having filters on it, I call this a very unfiltered look. Like it's surreal and got a lot of soft colors, but something about it is still harsh about it, and not like in a bad way. I'm not going to call it PS1 aesthetic, as not only is everyone sick of the term, but it just doesn't fit. If I had to give it a term, it'd be Morrowind-esque. It's got that middle of the original Xbox lifecycle level of graphics to where some things are pretty, but a lot of the game is trying to be sneaky with how low poly it actually is, and ends up using weird colors and filters to distract you from the fact that we haven't really figured out good facial animations yet. I don't mind this or any of the other quote-unquote aesthetics at all, because not only does that mean that solo devs and other small teams have a fighting chance of getting something out in a reasonable amount of time, as they don't need to spend a million man-hours modeling hyper-real textures and animations or whatever goes on in games, but also, this game never dipped below my set frame rate limit of 144 frames per second. I will take aesthetics over fidelity any day. Speaking of Morrowind, if that intro bit wasn't obvious enough, the creator of DreamSpring uses it as an aesthetic inspiration. We've got mushroom forests, a lot of wandering around instead of following the quest arrow, which there isn't even really a quest arrow, and the vagueness to quests that people associate with the third Elder Scrolls game. I'm going to be honest with you all here and tell you that I can only compare DreamSpring to what I've passively observed and seen Morrowind, as I've never gotten around to playing it. I was at the age where Oblivion was my entry into the Elder Scrolls series, and yes, I am having a very good time right now because I don't want to fight a handful of scamps and Clanfear runts at the Siege of Kvatch. I want a war! I'm not wasting a sigil stone on getting this done early. I want every Oblivion gate to be the kind of carnage worthy of being called a global crisis. Oh yeah, also this game takes inspiration from Lunacid and maybe some Soulsiness too. The dev has overtly said to me that the game is Lunacid inspired, and I can see that. Yes, I know Lunacid is inspired by King's Field, but I see more Lunacid than King's Field in the gameplay. There's a lot more to first-person dungeon crawlers than just King's Field, and we live in a post-Souls world, where the evolutionary tree is branched out quite a bit. Much like in Lunacid, weapons gain experience with use, and you can upgrade them at the right place if you can find it. Like, you have to know where to look, because back to that Morrowind inspiration, this game never tells you where the upgrade dude is. You just gotta look around and find him. Maybe there's a quest to go talk to him at some point, but I didn't get that quest. Speaking of finding things, there are many places to find out here in the waking world. I found myself having a very similar experience to Dread Delusion, where I was having so much fun exploring the world that I just kind of forgot about the main quest for a while. Ironically, I blundered into one of the major areas for the main quest well before I was supposed to be there. Some of the more interesting things I've found so far is this cave where you get the spell that trivializes the quest Jube sends you on once you find him again, which leads to going much further than I was supposed to in that quest cave and blundering into the story area. There's also the cool crystal place where all these dudes are. DreamSpring has a codex full of people, monsters, and places that updates as you encounter these things, which is great for getting some flavor text on the places you just blunder into. More games in general should just have codexes as you go along. Bring that back. Cooking segment time. We're gonna do something real simple and tasty for snack food today. Spam Musubis. Musubi? I don't know what the plural of Musubi is. These things are like 4 ingredients, or at least the way I do them is. I never even looked up a recipe for these, I just kept getting them at one of the places I frequent for snacks and was like, hey, I could probably make these with that sushi kit I got a while back. And that's exactly what I did. The first order of business is the rice. Figure out how many of these bad boys you want to make. You can get a good 6 Musubi portions from the meat of 1 thingy of Spam, and with 2 cans of Spam and 3 cups of rice, that'll yield you a nice even dozen. But those are going to be some very rice heavy, thick Musubi, with like half a cup of cooked rice per Musubi, and you can get away with half that amount if you want them to be a little slimmer. I should probably explain that I mainly make these for Dr. Latan so that she can just grab one out of the fridge between clients to get some calories in, since sometimes her work is so intense, she doesn't even have the time to heat up the meal preps I make for the both of us, let alone sit down and eat them. We're getting sidetracked though. Portion out your uncooked rice and use a mesh strainer to give it a good rinsing. Maybe have some kind of special container or glass in the sink that you can drain the runoff into to see if the water is coming out clear. When it is, the rice is fully washed and ready to be cooked. While it's not absolutely necessary, you should be using sushi rice or at least medium grain rice. I use this brand here and it works fine. Cook your rice according to the instructions on the bag or your rice cooker if you've got one, and let it do its thing. Also, yes, I am capable of wearing shorts, I just tend not to because there's a lot of bitey bugs in my area. Once the rice is done, we're going to get a sheet of parchment paper, spray it down, and put it onto a sheet pan, which we are going to spread the rice out onto in a sec. But first, we're going to dump the rice into a bowl and mix in the rice vinegar. Don't do nearly as much as like what your rice bag says it needs. Do like half of that, because otherwise your whole kitchen is going to smell like vinegar for the rest of the day. And also it's going to be all that you taste in the final product. Like do like half of what the bag says at most. Mix it up good and then spread it out onto that sprayed parchment, covering the top with some lightly sprayed cling wrap, and maybe give it a sec to stop steaming before putting it into the fridge for at least a few hours to cool down, preferably overnight. But musubi is something that you can eat hot. You can skip this entirely, that's at your discretion. Spam time. If you haven't worked with spam before, it's incredibly easy to work with. You can literally cut it with like a metal turner. Also, turners are real nice. I use this one here. I'm still trying to do that YouTube shopping thing, and I'm trying to make it work, but like half the time YouTube is like, nope, we removed your link. And it's like, my guy, it was your link. Whatever. Turner spatulas are cool. I use mine a ton. It's great for not just flipping stuff, but also scraping down surfaces and cutting very soft meats like spam. We're gonna use a cast iron to cook these, by the way, since it's been a while since I've used mine. Cut your units of spam into sixes and put them down onto the cast iron at a medium heat. We want these to be able to cook long enough to get the right level of brownness without just getting charred. Also, we don't need to use any cooking oil here because I don't know if you noticed, but spam is some greasy stuff. Like, it's basically reseasoning my cast iron while I cook it. Get them to your desired shade of doneness and then set them aside on some paper towels to drain off any excess. Time to put it all together. You want something called a Musubi press for doing this, but you don't really need one. I tried making them with the can that the spam comes in, and they turn out fine using the same process as the press. Get a bowl of drinking water and some small things of nori, the fancy seaweed wraps like the ones you get in the low-calorie snack packages. In fact, get those low-calorie snack packages, they are just the right size for what we're doing. Set those aside, and we're going to start forming the musubi. You can do this all in one go if you want, but for these, I'm starting first by using the sprayed cling wrap around the press and putting it in grilled spam and rice inside first, giving it a good smush, and then pulling them out. Then once they're settled into place, we put one of the seaweed strips into the water for no more than 15 seconds before draping them over the spam. Then we place the musubi back in the press spam side down and give it another good smush. This is a good means of making sure they all stay together, but for good measure, we also wrap these up because we don't want the ones that we don't immediately eat to get dried out in like a day. Musubi can be done all sorts of ways, and I didn't even know that they're usually made with teriyaki until well after making this. Apparently there's all sorts of ways you can do them according to some quick Googling. I still like to make them like this though because they're cleaner and easier to make and you can just pop them right into your mouth. I do, however, just press them all at once for the sake of speed. I might try them one day with teriyaki or egg or something, or whatever else I can add later on. If you want the full recipe, as always, it's on my Patreon where you can help support what I do. Now let's get back to DreamSpring. Before we get into the state of the game in early access, let's talk about a few other things I liked about DreamSpring. For one, like I hinted at earlier, this is not a game that holds your hand or even bothers to give you a quest marker, let alone a map. Quest givers will give you general directions, and between what's on your quest log and what you can ascertain through the codex, and what you can literally just see around you, you're gonna have to figure it out on your own. I kid you not, I got lost at some point looking for a wizard's tower that I was just told was in a certain area, only to realize as I was walking around, I could literally see the tower floating out on the horizon, and it was like, oh, I guess I just have to go that way. Funny story about that sort of thing. By the time you're watching this, unless you're a patron and then you got access to this earlier, it's been about a week and a half since this game first dropped. A side effect of finding new, cool games off the beaten path is that often I am sometimes a step away from being a playtester. There's often no guides for what I'm playing, and sometimes there isn't even so much as a let's play or a stream VOD for me to use as a point of reference if I get stuck on something. This was the case for me as I did get stuck at a certain spot. There was nothing I could do. The best I had was a dev stream that didn't get to nearly the point that I was in the game, and I spent nearly 2 hours in a certain area trying to figure out what the heck I was supposed to do. I had died and tried so many things so many times that I discovered that this game has anti-farming measures in place as certain enemies on my runback path just stop spawning in. Lucky for me, there was a link to the Discord right on the main menu, and I was able to swallow my pride enough to go there and ask for help. The dev himself ended up coming to my aid and was kind enough to give me a hint where my dumbass figured out that I had misread a prompt. This sort of thing just happens when you're playing games that just come out. My blunder represents another thing I really like about DreamSpring. You're allowed to just get lost and go see stuff. There's enough big open space and enough things around you to where you're just allowed to wander off and discover something cool. Just walk through the mushroom woods, pulverize any of those annoying raptors you find, and see what's on the other side of that wobbly instance thing you just stumbled upon. Jump on things. There might be a treasure chest up there. Wandering around was how I figured out that there was a guy in the Holy City that sells gear and more bullets. Wandering around was also how I figured out there were other kinds of guns to be found based on my finding ammo for them. There's also lookout points you can find that give you a nice scenic view, but I'm embarrassed to say that I couldn't find any of them in my travels, but I'm sure you guys will probably find them. Finally, this game's got some pretty nice tunes. They get a little intense at times, and I did end up having to turn the music down in the options after a while, but it's always appreciated when a game puts effort into background music and its OST. I know, I don't normally talk about in-game music since there's always a chance that anything that you don't know it to be explicitly royalty-free can get claimed someday in the far future, but it's still nice that this game debuted with a proper soundtrack, as lately I've played my fair share of games that hardly have any music in them at all, so between this and Chambers, this was pretty nice. Okay, so this is an early access game, and one that just came out at that. It's not the dev's first game though, and it's certainly its most ambitious one when compared to that previous game they made. According to the EA blurb, the game is, and I quote, 60 to 75% done. There's already been plenty of testing too. I can personally attest to how in my time playing I did not run into any bugs and the game works as intended as far as I can tell at least. Additionally, they're saying that DreamSpring is going to be worked on for another 6 months to a year. They say that the main quest and most of the side quests are done, but they plan on maybe making some more side quests, and the world is only 75% done. I personally did not get to the end of the main quest, and that is by intention as the game is actively getting updated. And I also got another pretty big update as I was writing the script for this video. I'll definitely be coming back to this game in 1.0, which, man, I gotta find a way to set up a reminder system for games leaving early access so I can keep track of all of these. There are a couple things I hope that get worked on a little more between now and release. For starters, at times the combat leaves something to be desired. I really started feeling this when I fought that one boss in the first Dream World, where the lesson of the fight was, hey, did you know that you can dodge in any direction, including backwards? And then I just backdashed for over 5 minutes straight, according to my footage, giving this guy little bops with my sword, because if you try to go all in, he can 2-tap you in like 3 seconds. And by 2-tap, I mean like a quick 1-2 combo that mulches your whole HP pool. And I built a bulky character. A lot of combat is either circle strafing while smashing left click, or trying to snipe guys with spells or your gun, like it's old school WoW trying to pull and wear down big groups. There is a parry feature, but I could never get it to work, but that's probably a skill issue. I'm not exactly sure what I'm asking for here, just maybe some more variety in the mundane combat? Secondly, I think that the leveling system needs some fine tuning. While you do get a lot of levels early on, it doesn't feel like you're putting a lot of points into your skills so much. Despite putting the bulk of my skill points into strength, I don't see any major difference in how much I can chunk the same enemy's HP bars, and it feels like it still takes roughly the same amount of hits to bring an enemy down at 5 strength as it does 50 strength. And I can barely notice the effect of dumping points into dex for my jump skill at all. Sure, don't make it to where you can min-max or get absurdly broken stats if you don't want your game to be like that, but I'd like to at least notice that I'm getting some pretty high jumps when I start putting points into dex, so that maybe I can explore some more. In spite of both of these complaints though, this game is still offering a lot, and it is cheap, like dirt cheap. It is $10 when not on sale, and that's a game that comes with a lot of caves and dungeons and overworld to explore, and that isn't even as big as it's going to be by the time they're done. According to the EA blurb, the price is gonna go up later on, so it might be a good idea to get on it now because this is a lot of game for only $10. My final thoughts on DreamSpring for now is that it's an ambitious game with a lot of stuff to do in it with a great aesthetic and all for dirt cheap. I'd recommend this one if you're looking for something to scratch that Lunacid itch even after the Lunacid spinoff that was literally made in the Kingsfield level editor, and to keep an eye out on it if you don't want to buy it right away. I'd like to ask you though that if you do end up buying it, please leave a review on Steam after playing it. YouTubers like me aren't the only people that need to claw their way into an algorithm, and taking the 5 minutes to write a little something about the game, whether you like it or not, can help a lot with getting small games like this the exposure they need to do well. Just a bit of housekeeping before we do the demo spotlight. As always, please be kind enough to like and leave a comment to help me claw my way back into the big YouTube machine, because I am trying my best here to appease the beast while getting caught up on Halloween in July and, just living my life. Make sure you're subscribed so that you can get these videos sent to you as they come out, and streams on the Purple Place are back to normal. We've been playing Dishonored lately, just got done with a Clean Hands run, and we're going to do a Maximum Murder run after that. I know I'm doing a lot these days, but that's just what you gotta do. Also, by the way, if my audio sounds a lot better than previous videos, fun fact, I have been using the same microphone since 2019. The issue recently was that I upgraded my computer monitors, and they were so big that my microphone stand couldn't get around them. I bought a new boom arm, like a proper microphone base on the floor that booms over my screens, and now that I'm close enough to the mic again and can turn my gain down a bit, I sound just like I used to. Funny how that works. I'm also still working on the video stuff, but one thing at a time. Since we're doing something soulsy this video, the demo spotlight is going to be for a game called Hark the Ghoul. It's a first-person Kingsfield / Souls-like where you play as a bug dude trying to figure out what's going on in this odd, kind of spooky Victorian world. There's not only cool weapons that you can find and upgrade, but a lot of spooky enemies, and also a sick kicking ability that you can use to knock stuff away from you or conveniently off a ledge that's just right there. It's like they're asking to get kicked off a cliff. As always, it's a demo, so it's totally free to try out, and if you end up liking it, be sure to wishlist the game so that you can get notified when the full thing comes out. I stream normally on Wednesdays and Fridays around lunchtime in the US and quitting time in Europe over on the Purple Place, and on days like this where a video goes live, I stream all the cool demos you guys told me about so I can shout them out in this section. Don't forget to follow me over there, and if you have a Prime sub you aren't using, kicking that my way helps me out a ton. Now let's sign off. Remember that no matter what you do, be it writing, drawing, or running really, really fast across fantastical landscapes, what you do is not content. It is art. Content is a word that in recent years has become a means to reduce all your skills, passions, and aspirations into a gray sludge meant for nothing than to make a line go up, and in no way does your art deserve that. Art is sacred. Art is inalienably a reflection of its creator by the very act of making it, and in no way do you deserve to be reduced to content. So get out there and fight for your art by fighting against the contentification of everything. And stay saucy. Shonkalis? That's where my pants go. Sir, I gotta put my pants away. I was folding the laundry, and I know you get upset when I take away the big pile of clothes to sit on, but that doesn't mean, I get to sit in the pants drawer. And this is like an extra button with a string on it. I don't want him nibbling on that because we do not need long foreign bodies right about now. Yeah, I don't know how well you do with surgery. I'm just gonna... There we go. Sir, what is your angle here? I gotta fold the laundry before I go get mommy, so she doesn't have to do it. I'm gonna pet you. Ooh, I'm gonna give you pets. You can't stop me because you're... Oh yeah, you can kind of stop me. Why are you upset? This is not where you belong. I even made you the green screen table to lurk under. Come on, man, help me out here.